All right, guys, I'm going to tell you a thing. More than squirrels, what matters in this election, even more than abortion, what matters in this election is the scope of the U.S. military spending. And I'm talking about your specific tax dollars being wasted on things that have nothing to do with you. Listen, right now the US military is many, many, many times the size that it needs to be. And the reason that it's that way is that we've created these supposed like mutually beneficial alliances between the United States and Europe. But the only thing about that is they get the benefit of the American taxpayers funding a huge military to protect them, and we get the benefit of getting to pay for it. We're paying, they're getting, we get absolutely nothing out of this. And that's what we're calling an alliance. And that's a description of NATO, and that's a description of every other military alliance that the United States is currently in. Listen, Israel gets a lot from America. I don't think that America gets any military defense from Israel of any kind. Germany gets a lot from America, but I don't believe that America is one drop safer because we got the German army on our side or the French army on our side or any other army on our side. What's happened is we're essentially like someone who's gotten a 10,000 bedroom house so that other people can live in it, but they're not paying any kind of rent. What we could do is downsize and have a normal sized house, or in this case, a normal sized military, and not be overpaying for nonsense that we don't need. So the question is, who's made that case? Now, my understanding of candidate of Chase Oliver's position is that, like all libertarians, he wants to leave NATO. Now, I haven't heard him say too much about it, but I do believe that's on his platform. And, if it's on his platform, to me, that's good enough. And if Chase Oliver's elected, my hope is that the very first thing he does is get the United States completely out of NATO, shuts down all foreign military bases, brings the troops home so that we can be safer, save money. I'm talking about a several thousand tax. This is not a small amount, by the way. This is not like 20 cents. This is a several $1,000 tax cut per person in the United States. That's how much money we're going to be saving. So not only will we be saving money, we'll also be getting safer. Here's why. What does the American military do right now? Makes enemies. It is an enemy creation machine. All it's doing right now is going to other countries and pissing them off and turning them into our enemies. Do you think these, like when you look at the September 11th attacks, what were those about? Do you think that that would have ever happened if the United States was not in every single other country trying to make enemies? Do you think that all these terrorist organizations would be able to grow so quickly if the United States military was not over there making enemies? Every drone strike that kills one family is going to create enemies out of all of their friends and family. Every time the US military pointlessly bombs a hospital, like they did under President Obama, bombing a hospital with Doctors Without Borders there, where Doctors Without Borders had told the American military, please don't bomb us, we're over here. Such is our reputation of bombing hospitals. That's creating more enemies. We could simply stop doing it right now, shut down foreign military bases, bring the troops home, and stop creating enemies. So the question that is in the front of my mind for voting, and I believe should be at the front of your mind for voting, something you should consider very heavily, is do you want to keep on paying to make enemies? Do you want to keep being overtaxed so that you can make enemies? Now, let me tell you exactly why the mainstream media does not talk about this. They talk about this occasionally. They'll talk about this like a negative, like, oh my God, if Trump is elected, he's going to pull us out of NATO, which I doubt, by the way. The only candidate, by the way, that I think is actually going to pull the United States out of NATO is Chase Oliver. I don't think anybody else is going to do it. But Trump has talked about it. And, who knows? I suppose anything's possible, but I don't consider it likely. If Trump is elected, or if Chase Oliver is elected and they pull us out of the military, guess what? Pull us out of NATO. Guess what that's going to do? That's going to make a lot of companies lose money. Military contractors are going to lose money. Right now, they're making a lot of money by charging the American taxpayer to create more enemies. They're making enemies at our expense. We are paying them to make us less safe. That's the current status quo. They like it. They're making billions of dollars. Who wouldn't like that? Here's the thing. The companies that hold that's the stock in those companies are also the companies that hold stock in media companies. Media companies are either directly owned by defense contractors, or the defense contractors and the media companies are co-owned by the same holding companies or the same stock companies. And what's happening over here is they are trying to make sure that that is not covered. They're trying to make sure that we don't ever see the positives of leaving NATO. And the result of that is that we're not getting any kind of coverage on this vital topic of leaving NATO, shutting down foreign military bases, bringing the troops home, cutting your taxes, and making you and your family safer. You are not being made safer by the American military making enemies. You're being made less safe because of that. But if we shut down foreign military bases, there are still military bases in Germany, by the way. I mean, World War II has been over for about a billion years. There's still military bases there. Shutting down foreign military bases, bringing the troops home, and shutting down and cutting all spending on any of these one-sided alliances where the United States gets absolutely nothing, not one benefit of any kind, and other countries, Europe, Saudi Arabia, Israel, all these countries. And this is not a partisan. This is not a sorry. This is not a thing where I think there's one country that should be getting aid, another country that shouldn't. I think we need to stop all military aid to everybody. Both Israel and Saudi Arabia should stop getting American military aid. Both India and Pakistan should stop getting American military aid. All of Europe should stop getting American military aid. That doesn't say that an individual person can't donate their own money. I mean, if you want to enlist in a foreign military, go right ahead. That's your natural right. You want to buy guns and give them to a foreign military, that's your natural right. You want to buy food and give it to a foreign military, that's your natural right. But it's not your natural right to force other people to spend their own money on something that they morally disagree with that is making them less safe. That's not a right that anybody has. So the number one question on my mind today is this: how can we get out of these pointless one-sided alliances that are ripping us off and making us less safe? And if we can do that, that's going to be a cost savings of several $1,000s per year and more safety for you and for your family.